So you're a founder. You've poured your heart, your soul, probably way too much caffeine, into building a product you really truly believe in. But then comes the hard part. The part where, honestly, most startups fail, actually selling the thing. Well, today we're going to tackle that. We're going to break down how you can stop pitching features and start closing deals.
Ah, yes, the four most painful words in the English language for a founder. Let me think about it. It's that polite little dismissal that just feels like a punch to the gut, doesn't it? It's the sound of a deal you thought you had just fading away. But what are they really saying when they say this?
That's what it boils down to. They're telling you that the pitch was fine, the product looks okay, but you didn't connect. You didn't make them feel understood. You didn't build that crucial bit of trust or create any real sense of urgency. Your pitch was all about your baby, your product, and not nearly enough about their problem. And that right there leads us to the single biggest mistake that founders make. I call it the feature trap. It's so easy to fall into because you're in love with what you built. You know every line of code, every design choice. The problem is you forget to talk about why any of it actually matters to another human being. See, here's the deal. When you're listing off all your cool features, you're having a conversation about product specs. But let me tell you, people don't buy specs. They buy feelings. They buy outcomes. They're buying a feeling of status or the relief of simplicity or the comfort of security. They're buying a better version of themselves. Okay, so look at this. This slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, that's the feature conversation. It's just describing what your product is. But on the right, that's the value conversation. It's all about what your product does for their life. One is a tour of the tool, the other is a prescription for their pain. So, if you remember one thing from this section, make it this. Features describe, value transforms. And guess what? People do not write six-figure checks for a description. They invest in a transformation. They pay good money to solve a painful, expensive problem or to get to a future they desperately want. And you know what happens when you get stuck in that feature trap? You almost always run into the big, scary price objection. But what if I told you that price is almost never the real problem? This is so crucial. When a potential customer says, wow, that's too expensive, they're not really giving you feedback on your pricing. What they're really saying is, I don't get it. You haven't shown me why this is worth that much money. The value just isn't clear enough to justify the cost. So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you build this bridge of value so perfectly that the price on the other side just doesn't seem like a big deal anymore? How do you get them to stop asking, how much does it cost, and start asking, when can we start? Well, the answer isn't some new sales hack. It's a framework that's been working for over 2,000 years. Believe it or not, about 2,400 years ago, a guy named Aristotle figured this all out. He laid out the three fundamental pillars of persuasion. He called them ethos, pathos, and logos. This isn't a modern trick. This is literally the source code for how human beings are convinced. Let's start with ethos. This is all about your credibility, your character. Let's be real. People don't buy from a logo or a company. They buy from people. People they like, people they respect, and most importantly, people they trust. So before they ever believe in your product, they have to believe in you. Now, ethos isn't something you're just born with. You have to build it brick by brick. You do that by sharing your story. Why did you start this company? You let your happy customers do the selling for you with powerful testimonials. You create content, articles, videos, whatever, that proves you actually understand their world. And this is a big one. You're honest about who you're not for. Nothing builds trust faster than a little honesty. Okay, next up is pathos, the appeal to emotion. And this can be a tough one for a lot of founders, especially if you're very technical. But it is an undeniable law of human nature. We make our decisions emotionally, and then we use logic to back them up later. Your job isn't to be a walking spec sheet. It's to make your client feel seen, understood, and hopeful. So how on earth do you do that? It's not with charts and graphs. You do it with stories. Our brains are literally wired for narrative. A good story bypasses the skeptical part of the brain and creates a genuine connection. It allows the client to see themselves in the hero's journey, which builds the empathy you need to close the deal. And that brings us to our final piece, logos, the appeal to logic. So think of it this way. Ethos gets you in the door. Pathos makes them want to buy. And logos is what gives them permission to do it. It provides the rational, undeniable proof they need to justify the decision they've already made in their heart. And the secret to really powerful logos? Specificity. Vague claims just create more questions and more doubt. but sharp, specific numbers, they create certainty. I mean, just look at the difference here. Which one makes you feel more confident? It's night and day, right? The one with the undeniable proof.
Okay, so we've got the three ingredients: ethos, pathos, and logos. But here's where most founders go completely wrong. The order in which you use these isn't just important, it's everything. This right here, this is the winning formula. You always start with ethos. You establish why they should even bother listening to you. Then, once you have their attention, you connect with their pain and their dreams using stories. That's your pathos. And only at the very end, once the trust and desire are there, do you bring in the hard data and the ROI to close the deal. That's logos. And when you follow this sequence, when you get it right, something kind of magical happens. The whole conversation shifts. You're not convincing them anymore. You're just laying out a case that is so emotionally compelling and so logically sound that the only rational decision for them is to say yes. It starts to feel irrational not to move forward.
And this really gets to a huge mental shift you have to make as a founder. Selling isn't this sleazy thing where you're trying to take money from someone. If you truly believe your product can help, then selling is serving. You're simply guiding someone to a better future and giving them the tool they need to get there.
So, I don't want you to just watch this and forget it. Here's your homework before your very next sales call. First, go through your pitch and replace every single feature with an outcome. Second, find one amazing client story that really captures that emotional transformation. And third, lock down 3 super sharp data points that prove your case. Get your ethos, pathos, and logos lined up and ready to go.
I'm going to leave you with this one final question to think about. I want you to take a hard, honest look at your last pitch. Were you selling a piece of software? Were you selling a service? Or were you truly, genuinely selling a better way of doing things, a better future, a real transformation? Because trust me, the answer to that question will change everything for you.
If you know another founder who needs to hear this, share this video, because we rise by supporting others. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now